Anywho, speaking of dragging us down, Brian, last week on Monday Night Raw, again, we're not going to review this as a wrestling program today. We're just going to have a couple of observations because if you really want to know what happened on Raw for 3 hours, there are transcripts of these speeches available at the Library of Congress. I think if you send a self-addressed stamped envelope and 50 cents in postage stamps, you can get the, goddamn whole transcript of the thing. But I mentioned this on the Drive-Thru, and we can talk about it a little more in depth. The WWE is just slapping the shit out of Tony Khan with nothing but talking to each other and showing stars. Just having stars on the program and have them talk to each other. It's
and the big matches are on the premium live events.
And I don't even know if I would say that all the premium live event matches are big matches anymore.
No, I wouldn't say they are. Not all of them.
I would say that some premium live events don't particularly have a big match.
But you're not getting Roman Reigns on a throwaway SmackDown, is my point. Wrestling a match.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying they've gone further than that, because back in the old days, studio wrestling, squash match, promo angle, that was somewhat of an infomercial for the house show. So you could say that they were talking to you in the building, and then, you bought your ticket to the house show and you got the premium live event. But now it doesn't really even matter, except for the big 4 or big 5 pay-per-views. Got to have a strong main event, and WrestleMania will be a couple deep because it's WrestleMania. And some of the premium shit that comes from Dubuque, we'll stick Nakamura in the main event for 30 minutes. Let everybody ignore the last 7 years. It doesn't matter anymore. The people who are predisposed to like WWE, to like wrestling now, what they think that wrestling is now, primarily like WWE because maybe they don't even know it didn't used to be that fucking boring. But it's stars. It's the big show. It's a major production, and it makes some fucking sense. Some not good sense sometimes, but some kind of logical sense. You know what they're halfway doing. And that's all they got to do, I guess, because the Raw literally was a series of monologues and or dialogues between people with matches sprinkled in that you wouldn't give 2 shits about if you were trying to watch this for the wrestling. Can you argue with that?
I don't even remember if I saw Raw, actually.
Well, and that's the thing, because once you see people standing there talking to each other every week over and over in many of the same combinations, it kind of blurs. But the Judgment Day came out. The first word uttered, I'm going to give you some statistics. I don't even really care what all the fuck they did. Finn and Priest come out for an in-ring promo on the season premiere from Dallas, Texas. Not even Hollywood. The first word uttered by the talent was 5 minutes in, and they wasted time and they did idle chatter. And Priest said, the rest of the crew is in our clubhouse. It sounded like it was the fucking Bowery Boys. So then they talk for 90 seconds and Cody interrupts. And he does a long entrance. It was 2 minutes later before the next word was spoken by any of the talent again. And then they go back and forth in a threatening verbal fashion. And then they were making them out, Cody wants to fight Priest, but Priest has a match tonight with Jay. Well, maybe it'll be Cody and Priest at Crown Jewel. Well, Cody accepts, but what do we do now? Give them a preview? And then they all jump and get in a fucking fight. And then JD Funko comes out and they try to hurt Cody's leg. What?
Isn't it Mick Funko?
Well, it's because actually I'm tired of the Mick in there. Just JD Funko Pop.
Okay.
Whatever. they hit Cody in the leg with a chair one time. The referees and agents come out and we're 15 minutes into the program. So now Cody's leg is hurt for later on. Okay, great. And I think Jay came out and, yeah, he did something else. I don't know. And then we get Otis and Gable against the New Day. By the time that's over with, we're 35 minutes into the fucking show. And they did a Viking video with a large supporting cast of the wait staff at medieval times. Then Seth talked to Rhea in the back for almost 4 minutes in just a one camera shot of them in the back in the hallway, where at least Rhea sounds like an adult. Seth was just speaking weirdly, even more weirdly than Franklin usually talks, but Rhea's offering help. Seth wasn't interested. Rhea threatened him in a long-winded fashion. 4 minutes. And then they had more girls talking in the back. And then they had the NXT title on the line between Becky Lynch and Indy Hartwell, which went from 10 till 9 to 5 after. So they went over the fucking top of the hour with Becky and Indy. And then after that match, some Japanese girl appeared at the monitor shot where Candy LaRue was watching the match and chopped her in the throat. And then Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis were in the back, exchanging left-handed compliments and smart remarks, and they've got, their issue going on. And they did a contract signing for a 5-way girls match with Raquel and Zoe and Shayna and Nia Refrigerator Perry, where every one of those girls, as soon as they walked in the ring, they signed the contract, and then Rhea's music plays, and she cuts a promo. And Pierce is trying to control her, and she's going to make his life a living hell. And the people are popping for her because she's the babyface in this, even though she's a heel. And then Nia tried to talk. And I swear to God, it sounded, she's trying to talk like Moon Zappa while she looks like Plowboy Frazier. She was almost doing like a Valley Girl, the way you want me to crush you so that you. And then they all got in a sloppy girl fight and scene. We're an hour and a half into the show. And then Johnny Sameface wrestled Leonardo da Vinci. And then there was another subtitled promo from Shaky Nakamura where he doesn't make any more sense reading it in English than hearing him speak it in Japanese. Am I boring you so far? Because they were doing it to me.
I mean, I didn't remember if I watched it. I didn't watch it. And now I know why, too.
Well, would you like to hear about the next dramatic monologue?
How far into it are we? An hour 15?
Hour and a half.
Hour and a half.
Logan Paul. He's a hell of a heel. He is an obnoxious, prickish. I don't know, all the typical verbiage you would use to describe somebody like that as a heel. And he can speak, he's glib. And he must have hated that fucking guy he had the boxing match with, because he's knocking him on the wrestling show. And
well, you heard about what that guy did, right?
I haven't. It's not my week to watch Logan Paul's life. What did he do?
Well, no, it got into the newspapers. This guy, and I'm not even familiar with who he is. He started releasing, I guess, videos and photos of Logan Paul's fiance with other men, and like her apparently doing things years earlier with other men. And she sued him in the build-up to the fight. I don't believe it was part of an angle.
How the fuck did, of all people in the world, the opponent of Logan Paul that they're fighting in a fight, how did he lay his hands on this material?
I think with some people, if you're not careful and you like to date celebrities or pseudo-celebrities or trying to be celebrity people, whatever it may be, and you're letting them take pictures or film things, I think you run the risk of these things being passed around. People should be smarter.
So that's why he's just ripping this guy to shreds.
I think so. Because also I saw the clips of the fight. It was a boxing match, and Logan Paul was winning. And then, like, the guy started, it was almost like a Piper versus Mr. T. Like, the guy, all of a sudden, Roddy Piper wants to body slam Mr. T. And the guy, like, gave up. He's like, all right, this ain't going anywhere, so I'm just going to try some shit. And then it didn't work.
Well, Logan Paul, anyway, he's a good heel, and he worked with the whats. It was great, but again, how much talking can you listen to? It wasn't bad. It just more talking. So then he starts promoing Rey Mysterio, and then the people actually start caring, because I don't think most of this audience knew what the fuck was going on with this guy he was talking about. But nevertheless, then Dominic music interrupts, and Dominic comes out, and at that point, it's gone too far. It's gone too far. They started doing the thing where they turned Dominic's mic down, and the fans are cooperating. They know that's their cue to boo, and they're turning them up. But now I know Logan Paul is knocking Ray, and Dominic was going to come out and join that, but they can't say anything for long periods of time. And then as soon as Logan Paul might start saying something, they'd quieten down. Plus his mic is still up. But then if Dominic tries to do anything, the same thing, I had to fast forward, because you can't, it's milking, constant, long, nothing's happening. It's getting old. What do you think?
It's still working with the live audiences, even though they seemingly at times pipe it up, pipe it in, however you want to say it. We hear from people that go to these shows that say they're not doing it, but then there are other times where it just appears they have to be doing it.
Well, that's what I'm not saying that they shouldn't, the fans should be told not to boo him, but I'm saying leave his goddamn volume up and let him yell and talk over the fans who are going to boo anyway. But when it's to the point where you can't understand what's being said and it comes to no point and it just goes on, they're manipulating the levels. Let the people boo, and let's hear him at the same fucking time. They'll still keep booing. The television audience could actually understand what's going on. That's my point.
Maybe they should do something where Dominic finds a friend on the production team, and they start making the mic as loud as possible. So then the fans have to hold their ears because it's just Dominic screaming over them as loud as possible.
There you go. The old Mongolian stomper gimmick with the bad inner ear.
Yeah, except the fans will be doing that. Yes.
Yes. But anyway, so they called in Ricochet's girlfriend ring announcer and told her to preview the pay-per-view and announce Logan Paul as the new U.S. champion. And then Ricochet came out and tackled Logan Paul, and they had a fight. And Ricochet, who's 5'4", 150?
No,
what is he?
No,
I don't
know. Come on. He's probably 5'8", 180.
Okay, he beat up Logan Paul and Dominic and ran them both out, and they just left.
Maybe he's 5'9".
Maybe he's 6'6", and they've just got a funhouse mirror on him.
He could be 5'10". I don't know. They announced Kenny Omega as 6'2", which was the first time I heard that.
Yeah. Nevertheless, we're an hour and 45 minutes into the show, and we got Piper and Chelsea against Nikki and Natalya. And Nikki, now her name is Nikki Cross. It was Nikki Ass, right? And when she was a superhero gimmick and
but
long pajamas.
She became that character, the Nikki Ass superhero character, but was she Nikki Cross before that? Then she became that and she's back to Nikki Cross, or was she a different name before that?
Yes, she's double crossed. She's gone back and forth a number of times. Maybe she had her fingers crossed behind her back. Anyway, her new deal now is that she's nuts in some fashion, and she stands on the apron staring straight ahead, motionless, blank face, doesn't pay attention to the match. So why she's the partner, I don't know. I'm sure that's when they were nattering in the back and I didn't care. But nevertheless, she was staring ahead blankly, motionless, like the fans in the seats for this match. And finally, she just got off the apron and walked out, and the heels beat Natty. And that was that. And then, just so we know where Drew McIntyre and Jey Uso stand, they were in the back talking to each other. And Drew was being a real smartass and basically says, whatever happens to Sammy is your fault. Because Drew is wrestling Sammy tonight. And the reason why Owens and Sammy aren't together or friends or whatever, because Jay came there, they could send the other guy there, whatever the fuck. Can you tell it's almost the 10 o'clock hour?
I guess, yeah.
And by the way, Pierce was arguing with Miz when Rhea came in and signed the contract, and then the camera followed her down the hallway to console Dominic. So at the point we got to the match with Drew and Sammy at the 10 o'clock hour, Sammy had been in the ring for 10 minutes for the people in the arena. You've got time to have something out there, but yet they just show people these endless fucking videos on screen. Anyway, at 10 o'clock, Sammy and Drew, size versus speed, and then Drew kicked the shit out of him. And then got thrown over the desk, and they went to a break, and they came back, and they did a dive, and they did a kick, and they did a power bomb. And just when I was thinking, Drew McIntyre is getting more interesting, his matches, his promos, whatever, as he's becoming a smart-ass heel. And this match wasn't bad, especially as not only WWE matches go, but as anything we've seen so far tonight. And then all of a sudden, they're having to... Drew gave him some big belly-to-bellies and nipped up and fired up, right? And I'm thinking, yeah, they're getting this fucking guy over. And then Rhea Ripley's music plays. What? And she comes to the ring, and Sammy gets a small package 2 count and then sets up for the kick. But Rhea gets up on the apron and draws Sammy's attention, and then he turns around and Drew hits his kick. 1, 2, 3. So not only does Drew McIntyre need help from Rhea Ripley to beat Sami Zayn if they're pushing Drew in this new fashion, but Brian, what about that finish didn't make sense?
I don't know.
Rhea Ripley started out to the ring to apparently distract the referee and help Drew McIntyre win the match, when Drew was kicking the shit out of Sammy and had just nipped up and fired up and was honing in for the kill. Why didn't she come out when Sammy was making his comeback? How does that make sense? She could see 30 seconds in the future that if she didn't come out right at that moment, that 30 or 45 seconds down the road, it looks grim. Right now, he may be winning. That it doesn't, that the way that was done doesn't make sense, does it?
No. Doesn't
but
seem
they did
like
it. But they did it. And then would you like me to continue since we're having this conversation?
Well, I mean, there can't be that much more left, can there? I mean...
No, there's not. But nevertheless, there's talking, because Aldous was in the back talking to, haven't seen him in forever, Little Darlin' Dagmar and Diamond Lil. Didn't know they were still, these were the 2 shortest female wrestlers I've ever seen that didn't work for Moolah. I don't know what their names were, but he was a foot and a half, because Aldous is what, 6'5"? Easily. Seems like it. He has a towering presence. He looked like Andre next to these 2. And then Pierce came in and got mad at him for chatting up the superstars, and Nick decided to take off, and then Nikki Cross just wandered across the shot, and everybody stared at her as she wandered by. And then Big Bronson Reed wrestled Tozawa. Tozawa is literally 5'6" and 160 pounds. You cannot convince me otherwise. And Seth and Drew talked to each other more. And then, Brian, I don't know if DraftKings is on the program today. I don't believe they are, but would you like to put odds on how long it took from this week from the time of the first entrance of the main event participant till the time the bell for the match actually rang?
13 minutes.
You are incorrect. They rushed it this week.
Oh.
They hurried it up. The bell rang for the main event between Damian Priest and Jey Uso a mere 8 minutes after the first participant's entrance had begun. So here's the two sentences that I wrote. Priest has good heel body language. Both of them are slap punchers with the open hands. It's killing me. And Uso hit a dive into break in 2 minutes, and I said, oh, fuck it, what's the finish at this point? And the finish was that Finn came down and drew the referee, and Jey nailed Finn and then dove on him, and then Finn nutted Uso on the ropes, and then Priest hit his finish 1, 2, 3, and then they beat him up some more until here came Cody down the aisle limping with his bad leg that they had injured earlier in the show, and got in a fight with Finn in the aisleway, and then beat up Priest in the ring and went to break Priest's ankle, and Finn pulled him out. So after 3 hours of this program, the last 2 minutes were actually good. You got it. I could see Dusty coming out with the fucking leg wrapped up and goddamn blood in his eye, and to get even with the baby faces. There was 2 minutes of goddamn excitement on this program in 3 hours, and it was a Dusty Rhodes comeback.